welcome everyone, but I will pass over to our President Maureen for opening remarks and to welcome you all. Thank you. Thank you, President Maureen. Soroptimist International President Maureen Maguire.
Thank you, Lee. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to this Soroptimist International and Women for Water joint parallel event entitled Technology, Water and Women. One of the major crises that the world is facing today is that of climate change and the effects that it is having on people's livelihoods. Climate change is primarily a water crisis. We feel its impact through worsening floods, rising sea levels, shrinking ice fields, wildfires and droughts. We are all very aware that women and girls are most adversely affected by and vulnerable to the effects of climate change for many reasons, such as they constitute the majority of the world's poor who are overall most affected. They are more likely to be dependent for their food and income on the land and natural resources, which are being threatened. They are less likely to be in positions of power and/or decision-making roles. They are more likely to be responsible within their families for securing food, water and fuel for cooking and heating, which are all being threatened. It is often the women and the girls, for example, who are forced to walk great distances to find water when local sources dry up. In developing countries, women and girls tend to be exposed to the negative impacts of disasters, including death and injury. These disasters are becoming more frequent and more severe due to climate change. They face a heightened risk of gender-based violence during and following disasters, and when forced to leave their homes due to climate change, become more vulnerable to early marriage, teenage pregnancy, rape and trafficking. However, water can fight climate change, but everyone has a role to play. Actions at individual and household levels are vital, and we know that women and girls are uniquely important to the solution. Research shows that when women participate in decision-making at national and community levels, they are key to effective climate change solutions. They have a strong body of knowledge and expertise that can be used in climate change migration, disaster reduction, and in creating strategies for a more sustainable future. Their traditional cultural roles within families mean they often act as stewards of natural and household resources. Every day, billions of women around the world make decisions that influence the environment, whether it's as cooks for their families, choosing food and fuel, as farmers, influencing soil carbon emissions, or as consumers, making purchasing decisions. These cultural roles position women well to contribute to new strategies for climate resilient, sustainable livelihoods. Sustainable water management is central to building the resilience of societies and ecosystems and to reducing carbon emissions. It is important that these technologies are combined with traditional and indigenous knowledge so as to ensure sustainable rural development, thus achieving equality for women and girls. The use of appropriate, affordable, and accessible technologies and involving women in the designing is therefore an absolute necessity. I look forward to listening and learning from our speakers today. And I will now hand you to our moderator, Lee Elwood-Brown.
Thank you very much, President Maureen. It just shows how much the water does affect every part of our lives. What I'd like to do now is introduce to you Marit Verhoef-Cohen. Marit is an international president of Water for Women for Partnerships and a past Soroptimist International president. She will give introduction to women's issues, water and technology. Thank you, Marit.
Thank you very much, Lee, and dear honourable guests and Soroptimists, dear friends of Women for Water Partnership, dear everyone. So I am delighted to set this scene for today's subject, so very close to my heart. We have wonderful speakers, and you will get constructive information and solutions relating to the lack of technical women in the water sector. But first, global progress on women's rights is vanishing before our eyes. A warning from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And he went on by saying that the increasingly distant goal of gender equality will take another 300 years to be achieved. If we don't take collective action now to bridge the divide, gender equality is growing more distant and women's rights are being abused, threatened and violated around the world. And I think linking 5 and 6 as SDGs will try and make this goal possible. During this parallel event, we will show the importance of technical women in the water sector. The PGA of the 77th session of the UNGA, Kasha Gorosi, he said, water is the crucial denominator, and so is women's involvement. It is absolute share. It's about shared responsibilities and common conditions. And when looking at water and inclusivity, we realize that women and youth are not equally involved in the water sector, and we will never solve the water issue and the water crisis if that is not going to change. So there again, linking SDG 5 and 6 is one of the solutions. Next week, the first UN 2023 water conference in 47 years will take place. We cannot wait another 47 years to take action and find solutions for this valuable resource, water. We need to act now. The global water crisis is not coming. It is already there. Billions still lack safely managed drinking water and sanitation services. Billions already live in water-stressed situations, and this is set to rise, and climate change is exacerbating an already dangerous situation with increased extreme events through floods, droughts, and heat waves. The UN's primary mechanism for addressing the world's water crisis, SDG 6 on water and sanitation, is not on track to be achieved by 2030. One of the reasons the world is not on track for SDG 6 is the lack of technical capacity and a shortage in human resources in all key areas of water and sanitation. Within the capacity gap, a massive gender gap is evident, weakening current and future sustainable service delivery. Having a sufficiently enough trained workforce to maintain the status quo in addressing these issues is a challenge. But looking forward to achieving water security and sustaining that goal is an objective that the world is not currently ready for. The importance is clear when looking at the degree to which economies also depend on water to thrive. Of the world's active workforce, 42% are heavily dependent on water. This is 1.5 or 1.4 billion jobs, with an additional 36% of the workforce moderately dependent. While investments are often made in water and sanitation, equivalent funding for the required human resources is to implement is not often considered. There is an inability to attract people, most notably women, to work in water and sanitation, often linked to stigmas with a theme or a lack of continuing education opportunities. Educational systems are not aligned with the human resources needs, an insufficient number of workers willing to work in rural areas, and a lack of financial resources for hiring and, very important, retaining personnel. Research shows that worldwide only 17% women work in the water sector, and this includes the administrative jobs. Primarily in higher income countries, the workforce is aging, and large numbers are set to retire in the next decade without a sufficient influx of young professionals. This is where we need women to step in. Most countries are not even aware of what their water and sanitation workforce will require in the future. In all settings, women are underrepresented in the workforce, and overall, the enabling environment to attract, educate, train, and retain these working in water and sanitation is almost non-existing. I would like to finish by saying we need to get more technical education for women in all sectors, but specifically in the water sector. Let's bridge the gap between policies and practice, between practicing and preaching, and take action. So we need to advocate for allocation of adequate technical and financial resources to empower and educate women and girls and the most vulnerable groups, and closing the existing gender gap and increase women's access to land, water, and other productive resources, technologies, information, and training by applying gender-responsive and transformative approaches, and inserting specific gender activities and gender-sensitive indicators in the log frame. I thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy this, this wonderful parallel session.
Thank you very much, Marie. I did think that I saw the minister's face online before. And if that's the case, can I just find out if the minister is there? We might go directly to her so that we don't take up any of her time. No? So we will go back to our plan B, where we will play the video for Dr. Grace Olawasanya.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Thank you.
All right. I'll say good afternoon to everyone. It's afternoon where I'm at. And a big thank you for the invite by the Soroptimist International, the host, and the Women for Water Partnership, and in particular to Marriott for getting in touch. And very quickly, I bring you greetings from United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment, and Health. I believe I've been introduced. I'm Grace Olawasanya, the research lead for water, climate, and gender. Briefly, I just want to talk to you about the role of gender statistics and technology for effective water management, and also share with you what we do in advancing women equality in the water sector. Okay, it's my habit to always set the scene. I believe what we really want to know is how can we promote gender equality for effective water management. And to this, my take is always, we are all familiar with the fact that water is central to human development. Marriott just gave us a long list of the interlinkages, and gender equality is central to safe water and sanitation provision. To set all these in the context of the global SDG, we're saying SDG 5 is central to accelerating SDG 6. But how can we promote gender equality in the context of water management? So I'll say, starting from the known, the water sector is largely considered a male environment, especially when it comes to technical roles. We're familiar with this. And the idea that women are not decision makers, nor are technical, has been embedded in women right from early on. It's ingrained. You know, the fact that women are told technical jobs are for men. So this has impacted the kind of studies that women undertake over the years. So women are not studying water science and engineering enough, and this has widened the technology gap in particular. Where does the solution lies? To move away from the rhetorics, because for me personally, I believe we've talked enough. there's been enough call for action. It's been ages. This is the 21st century, 2023. And all we keep doing is, okay, gender inequality, women are this, women are that. It's been descriptive, So for us, we're thinking, how can we radically flip this call to action on its head? What can we do differently beyond everybody just describing the situation, over the years and still, moving the same thing into the future? And I'm happy that Marriott already, told us about the take of the UN Secretary General. It's like a scorecard, that it just flipped in front of us. So how long are we continue to keep calling for action without proper commitment into this? So for us, the solution, I believe, lies in true representation. In this context, that would be true representation in water education, water science and engineering, technical and digital training, understanding the fact that digital literacy is a human right. And without it, women are further excluded from many services like health, services like water and sanitation, services like education. The list is endless. For some, this stems from lack of technical know-how. For some, it is lack of the devices. As simple as telephone, is, many still don't even have telephones, talk less of knowing how to use them. Some, it will be poor internet connectivity to leverage resources, to leverage, businesses and all that. So the tool to galvanize true representation is gendered statistics. The next slide, please. So you want to ask, what do I mean by gendered statistics? It's statistics that show a clear gap. Evidence of gender gaps through appropriate quantification. This is what we are talking about. Many studies have attempted quantification. Again, I'll recourse back to Marriott, who gave us the statistics. Only 17%, are in the workforce, in the water sector. But unfortunately, till date, that's part of the rhetoric I've been talking about. A data set that samples the full population of women in the water sector across the globe does not exist. So capturing gender disaggregated data to understand the gender inequalities will help us, in the water spheres to bridge this gap. And by that, I mean, we can use statistics to monitor progress. So if today we know in Soroptimist International is maybe 7 women that they have in leadership role, by 2025, statistics will tell us, okay, they've increased that or they've reduced that. Then we can call out the organization. You are just preaching, show us the action. Let's see the increase in the number of women. We can say that to any water sector organization. These are some of the practical examples or practical way forward that we're talking about. The next slide, please. So this is where I share the work that we do in my institute, where we believe we can do so many things in terms of water and gender, but the place to start is quantification. Let's have that global statistics, that gender statistics. So we're quantifying women's representation in the water sector at the national and regional levels, starting with the global south. We have designed a short survey to collect data on several specific indicators, largely stemming from the UNESCO WWAP toolkit on sex-aggregated data, for those of you who are familiar with that toolkit. The data set that will result from this initiative, we believe, should provide quantitative insight into the degree to which women are actually represented across the water sector and to expand monitoring, to monitor progress and the like. So for us, quantifying the number of women is the first step, but another layer of quantification is also needed. That is impact evaluation assessment of the role of women. So those of them that are already there, those 17% that Marriott alluded to, what's actually their impact? Are they doing well? Are they not? Is there a positive impact or not? Let's know. We believe these routes offer opportunities for scaling up, greater inclusivity. I hope I've not taken too much of your time, but I want to leave you with this. True representation is a right. just as water and sanitation had been declared a human right for everyone. But we need to also understand the fact that digital literacy in the 21st century of today is a human right. Let's leverage on technology to close this gap, and let's, train people in technology, particularly women and the vulnerable. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Grace. That is very fantastic to have that evidence that you've been working so hard on for so long. The evidence to help that gender gap in everything we're doing, the gender gap, we have to monitor and get the evidence to go through. Thank you very much. And now I will call on Stacey Chulik. Stacey is one of our UN representatives, our Soroptimist International UN representatives in Geneva. And she is an ICT consultant with experience in the machine and telecommunications industry. Stacey will speak to us on SI STEM, women and water.
Hello, my name is Stacey Kulik and I represent Soroptimist International at the UN in Geneva. Human development in recent decades has been accompanied by rapid changes in technologies and increase of digitized devices and services. New technologies affect all of us every day and will further widen existing inequalities as men are still more likely than women to study STEM subjects. The priority theme of the CSW67 is so very relevant. Since 1975, the UN, together with civil society, has sought a more equal representation of the sexes regarding the advantages from the introduction of new technologies in how we live, communicate, work, and learn. The UN has repeatedly called upon governments and relevant United Nations organizations to involve women in the design and implementation of their programs and projects, and to ensure policies that guarantee equal access to education, encourage vocational training in the fields of science and technology for all women and girls. The fact is, women have always been active in STEM fields. We simply haven't read about them, heard them, or seen them. To just name a few, the first programmer, Ada Lovelace in England in the early 1800s, wrote code prior to the invention of the analytical machine, anticipating what was to come. Kamala Sahoni, the first female PhD biochemist in India in 1930s, and Yukiko Agwa in Japan, who discovered the world's first magnesium alloys exhibiting shape memory and who received last year's UNESCO for Women in Science Award. And there were and are many, many more worldwide: mathematicians, astronomers, software engineers, geophysicists, astrophysicists, chemists, etc. Women have worked together with men to co-create the wonderful world we live in, even if we haven't read about them in our country's history books, newspapers, or magazines. We might get the impression that women were largely absent from life in the STEM fields. But do we have any way of knowing how many women worked in STEM fields over the past 200 years, as there has been very little documentation at all about women's professional achievements? Women have been invisible, hidden even. You may have watched the recent movie Hidden Figures about the NASA women who in the early 1960s calculated the trajectory to the moon for the Apollo space flights. These three women in STEM were hidden from us: Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, Dorothy Vaughan. Until most of us saw the movie, we didn't know of them or the groundbreaking work they did, together with teams of women who also were never given credit for their work. They were invisible, hidden. Women's accomplishments have often been claimed by men in their lives, by their brothers, such as composer Mendelssohn, husbands like Einstein, bosses, professors, co-workers, etc. There have been and are many women who have been and are very successful in STEM fields. Many still are invisible, hidden. This year on February 11th, the UN Secretary General Guterres stated, "On this International Day of Women and Girls in Science, we highlight a simple equation: more women and girls in science equals better science. Women and girls bring diversity to research, expand the pool of science professionals, and provide fresh perspective to science and technology, benefiting everyone. In 2015, the General Assembly established this International Day to recognize the critical role women and girls play in science and technology. Encourage and support girls in STEM subjects and ITC programs. Inspire girls and young women to work in STEM careers. Engage the community and promote collaboration through partnerships. Digital literacy and STEM education are lifelines for working, learning, keeping in touch, and accessing essential services. New technologies provide new and different employment opportunities, yet require women and girls to have skills ranging from basic digital fluency to advanced technical skills in STEM and in ICT. The ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, coordinates worldwide Girls in ICT Day. Take part in one of the many activities in over 170 countries this year. We want our communities to amplify and encourage the influence of women in STEM. Companies with higher numbers of women in leadership teams outperform those with fewer women, often by 30%. Moreover, leadership styles more frequently used by women are the most effective in addressing the global challenges of the future and critical to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Role models are key to the success of increased female presence in STEM fields. In many of the developing countries in Africa and Asia, the water situation is difficult. Women and girls are responsible for the water supply. They often walk long and risky distances to fetch water. The handling of water takes a lot of time and hinders the girls' schooling and women's opportunities to work for the family's livelihood. Since 2012, the Swedish Union of Soroptimist International has supported the Sunwater Project in empowering women and girls with a solar-safe water system. It is a combined portable water treatment and water heating system designed for off-grid household use in the developing world. It purifies polluted water through the sun's ultraviolet rays and heat. Consists of a double-sided black plastic container where each side holds around 5 liters of water. In 2 to 3 hours, the water is purified by heat and the ultraviolet rays of sun. It is then both hot and drinkable and can be used for cooking or hygiene. Thanks to its durable design, it is an affordable and convenient way to get clean, hot water. Studies have shown that a family which uses the solar-safe water system is healthier, the children in the family can go to school, the cost of medication decreases, and women can contribute to the family's livelihood. Nearly 2,500 systems provide over 25 liters of clean water every day. Thank you. Thank you for raising awareness and taking action to improve gender equality for women and girls in the digital world, for giving Soroptimist International advocacy your time and support. Together, we get it done.
Thank you, Stacey. Very effective. Our hidden and invisible predecessors. It just shows that women have run the world for a long time. We just haven't been visible. We have another presentation, which, Marita, are you happy if we take the solutions now?
Yes, please do.
Yes, thank you. We have presentations by Joanne Yo and also Narada. So both of these ladies will show you some practical solutions that they have been working on for quite a long time, mostly in the island of Borneo. So I would like to hand over, and once again, their CVs or their bios will be in the chat box.
Logging, dam construction and deforestation is threatening the indigenous tribes in Sarawak, Malaysia, of the forests on which they depend on. One such village is Kampung Long Tanit, a Penan village remotely located in the district of Belaga. It takes 8 hours on logging tracks via a 4-wheel vehicle from Bintulu. In addition, the village does not benefit from the Murum Dam, as the village does not have electricity nor clean potable water. There is no electricity, clean water, sanitation, nor a clinic in Long Tanyet. The nearest primary school and clinic is located in Sungai Asap, which is 4 hours away. The population amounts to 300 villagers, most of whom are women and young children, as many of the young men have left the village to look for greener pastures and jobs in the cities. The children are undernourished and often suffer from sore eyes, skin diseases and diarrhea, a leading cause of death of children under 5 in Malaysia. It was decided to implement rainwater harvesting and improving their current dam gravity-fed system. Gutters were constructed and storage tanks were installed in Long Tanyet for use in the dry season. In the true spirit of gotong royong or helping one another, the villagers helped the contractor to fix the gutters and mount the water tanks. These gutters were then connected to blue water tanks, also used as storage tanks during the drought season. From the blue tanks, pipes were connected to filters before being channeled to each home for consumption. As part of their practical training, the 5 Penang girls welded the stands for the water tanks and helped to connect the pipes. In Long Tanyet, 6 women and the project coordinator completed a 10-day course of training in organic farming at the Frangipani Organic Farm in Gombak, Kuala Lumpur. These 6 women have in turn taken the initiative to train another 20 women who are all eager to learn and participate in farming activities. It is expected that over time, all 120 women and girls in Long Tanyet will benefit and work in a farm or will be involved in food processing, marketing and distribution. The vegetables are growing well. The women have now produced enough vegetables for the village and started selling the extra to neighboring villages and the workers in the nearby logging camp. The women formed a committee and take turns to do the farming, while others stay behind to look after the small children collectively and cook for remaining family members.
Extreme weather events such as floods, drought or spontaneous fires have plagued large parts of the world with alarming frequency in recent years. In December 21, torrential rain caused massive flooding in 8 states in Malaysia, where a whole month of rainfall occurred in a 3-day period. This caused US $1.3 billion damage to public assets and infrastructure, homes, property and agriculture. 125,000 people were displaced, 54 people died, and 2 were reported missing in this disaster. In Long Tanyet, Sarawak, torrential rains and massive floods precipitated by climate change, as well as logging and deforestation, caused widespread damage to the farm and crops. The greenhouse and storage shed, as well as water tanks, were destroyed by mudslides and had to be rebuilt. Once again, the women in the village were adversely affected, as they are the ones who plant and harvest the crops.
Ini merupakan kali yang kelima selesai ini banjir di kawasan Sungai Tanyet, kalbat yang dibuat oleh company Singyang. Dan ini merupakan kita punya site Long Tanyet Organic Farm yang telah rosak karena akibat banjir ini. Ini merupakan yang kelima kali tidak silap saya, tapi belum ada tindakan dari pihak Singyang untuk membaik pulih apa yang terjadi ini. Ini menyebabkan kerugian yang besar kepada pemilik kebun ini. Di sana tu kawasan kebun, tengok air sudah melimpah.
To tackle this problem, CSW, in collaboration with the Malaysian Water Partnership, organized a training workshop on flood risk reduction and mitigation in October 22, before the start of the rainy season. The workshop was held in Bintulu, Sarawak, where there is access to the internet and audiovisual aids. A group of 12 women and 3 men from the village were transported to Bintulu for training, as Long Tanyet has no internet. project was sponsored by Heineken Malaysia and its CSR arm, Spark Foundation. The objectives of the project A series of steps were undertaken to implement this project. These slides show the trainees attending the workshop as well as the trainers in action. Engineer Noor Aisha Zaharin provided advice on how to be safe before, during, and after floods. The greenhouse was rebuilt on higher ground and new seedlings were replanted. And these are the beautiful baskets woven by the women. Training and capacity development have helped to educate and empower rural women to become more resilient in the face of disasters such as flooding. Women have become more confident and self-reliant and have a strong voice in the community in matters that affect their lives and livelihoods. Food and water security has been ensured, and this sustainable community-driven project has addressed several SDGs and impacted whole communities.
That is absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Joanne, and also Sarada. And on your field trips, I know you go there quite regularly. They're quite tough to travel, but you do it and you achieve throughout. It's a wonderful projects that you have done within Borneo. Thank you. Marie, perhaps you might be able to explain or give a type of introduction to the minister, even though she's not there, so everyone knows
Yes.
the significance of who we're waiting for.
Yes, definitely. It is very, very special that there is, as probably everyone knows, a new government in Brazil. And the President Lula has appointed a special ministry for indigenous women, for indigenous groups. And Sonia Guayayara is actually elected to become the minister of the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples of Brazil. And there is a huge community of indigenous peoples, which in the last government was not really handled carefully, let's say it that way. It is an important voice in defense of the rights of indigenous peoples, and Sonia is from the Guayayara people who inhabit the state of Maranhão in northeastern Brazil, known for her struggle for the rights of indigenous peoples and the environment. And she has the executive coordinator of the articulation of indigenous peoples from Brazil, and was part of the coordination of indigenous organizations of the Brazilian Amazon. And we have worked with them, we as Women for Water Partnership, we have worked with them during the World Water Forum in Brazil about 4 or 5 years ago. And at the moment, you all know that there will be a UN water conference in New York starting the 22nd of March. Women for Water is one of the co-conveners of the special event 3, which is about inequalities. And we work together with indigenous peoples. With one of the organizations is FILAC, which is an international indigenous peoples organization, but we work with quite a number. And I think it would be really nice to hear the voice of Sonia as an indigenous people defender in this session.
Thank you, Marita. And one thing I might just add, I did read on the website about Minister Sonia. She's had a fascinating life. And I know what I did read was a Brazilian Indigenous activist joined the list of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world when she received an award in the pioneer's career. So
that's wonderful. Yeah,
she's the first minister of the newly created Ministry of Indigenous Affairs in Brazil. So it's really exciting, and it'd be wonderful if we can have her on board to have her voice, as you say.
But maybe we can start with questions and answers if there are any.
Yes. So I have a colleague, Ulla Madsen, who will help me with the questions as well. Ulla was going to go through. There were a couple of comments I noticed, Ulla, from Lisa Davies going through.
Yeah.
I don't know were there any questions.
No, it was not questions, but there were some comments I think that was very interesting from Lisa Davis from UK. So Lisa, maybe you can take the floor.
Hello, hello, I'm a UK associate Soroptimist, and listening about the water, it's very interesting because I was very concerned in our country that through successive governments we've built on floodplains, and there is a warehouse that's been there in Leeds, West Yorkshire, since 1800 because it belonged to my grandfather, and they've built on it, but that warehouse always flooded because it's by the River Aire. And I said, you cannot build there, it will flood, and it's flooded. So everybody's cars, because they built block flats, got in a mess. And when we look around our country, they've built on floodplains, especially in York, where York's flat. And also we are now, through Boris Johnson, the ex-Prime Minister, dumping sewerage and things into the rivers, which is not good. And water companies are private companies, and they're not looking after the infrastructure. It doesn't seem that they're doing that, and they're not cleaning the rivers properly. So we need, in our country, the UK, to clean up all our rivers and also make dams, because a lot of the dams have been removed. Once you remove the dams, you don't have the water systems. So that's what I'm concerned about United Kingdom with. That if we do it, what about the rest of the world? That's what really makes me worry.
Lisa, in Australia, we have built on floodplains for centuries as well. And I think it must be around the world, but in Australia, we live around the coast and along the rivers. We love our water. So all the population is around the water edges and a lot of floodplains. So I hear your point there, but I think that's a wonderful advocacy to go for British members to be able to go to their governments and start advocating on this issue to see what they're doing.
I mean, I've written to my MP and friends I have in the House of Lords, but we'll wait and see. But I do know they're wanting to clear the water systems up, and it has been said by a government, a Labour government that want to come in, that they're wanting, if they will, to change stop the water companies being private and turn it into government again. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But it is a topic, and it has been going on. And we have lots of 38-degree petitions and petitions that I sign regularly about water, because there was something muted many years ago that we in the UK have lots of rainfall, and Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. So we could, in a sense, send water to Africa. But we can't do that if we're not looking after our own water and our own people. So, I mean, that would be a good idea, if we could do it.
This whole session is exposure on water and women's roles within water. So you might like to go back and re-watch the programs so that you can actually see some of the resolutions that have come out from different ones, different presenters, because there's been quite a lot of resolutions.
Thank you. And I see the clubs in Yorkshire, because that's where I live, Yorkshire. So I'll send it to them so they can.
Remember, non-government organisations that Soroptimists are, we are the watchdogs. So we're the ones that need to keep the decision makers and governments accountable. Yes, Dr. Nandita Shah.
Yes, hello everyone. It was amazing session. I'm from India and I have done my PhD in purification of contaminated water using a nano mix of certain minerals that are easily available. So as we all know, empower a woman with clean water and she can change the world. And access to safe water at home gives women hope, health and opportunity. My research paper shows a very simple and practical solution to the world's one of the biggest problems. So I would like to share my paper with you all. I have already put my email ID. So I don't know how to contact you all and share my paper and my presentation with you all. So can you please guide me regarding that?
Have you got a link to the presentation or your paper? You could put that in the chat box.
I had virtual paper presentation at the UN this on the 7th of March. So definitely I will like to share the link. I will do that.
Yes, place it in the chat box.
Sure.
Us,
thank
please.
you so much. Sure.
Thank you. And congratulations on your PhD.
Thank you
done.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions or any other comments?
I think that what is very important as well is what I was really happy to see that in Dr. Grace's presentation is the sexes aggregated data. Yes. The data of quantified and qualified, qualitative and quantitative data on women, because it's very good to know that women are allowed to be at meetings and count the number. But if they have no say, if they have no voice, if they can't make a decision, then you still don't get anywhere. So I think that data, as Dr. Grace said, is really very important.
Thank you very much for a fascinating presentation. It's really wonderful. I think that all the presentations I've listened to from your organization have been excellent. This is just another one. I think that women have more power than they think they have, particularly in regard to climate change, which is our most critical problem at the moment because of our buying power. And this is the thing that the economy is the thing that's really driving the climate problem for the whole world, the way we react, each one of us. And if we can change our habits, I think it's going to do a lot for the climate that we don't realize. When everything we buy, everything we do, from the bottom up, it reaches everyone, because we think that it's only the people who are in the jets and everything with all the money that make a lot of the carbon footprint. But we're the ones that power that with our buying power, because the more we buy, the more money they have to spend. And if we can cut down on our buying and reduce our use of products, I think that will make a great deal of difference if everyone could do that.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you for the kind comments that you've had about Soroptimist International. We do think that women are also very powerful. Well, we know, we don't think. Yeah. Women are very powerful. Our organization has more power than a lot of our individual members realize, and collective, we are so strong. But we have a wonderful amount of Soroptimists around the world doing fantastic, very positive, resolution-driven projects for different communities. Ulla Madsen.
Yes, thank you. I just want to introduce Chris Knight from Australia, because I think she would tell us a little bit about a project that they have had in Papua New Guinea. So she promised to do it short. So Chris, please take the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ulla, and hello, everybody. We've had our club meeting tonight, and one of our members belongs to lives up in Papua New Guinea. So the area that she is working in is with the Darabya people, which is part of the Wewak province. The rising sea waters there are actually destroying all the land that they have around their villages. So they have access to seafood, but nothing to be able to grow their vegetables with. So they are actually bringing up little seedlings and the dirt, and these women are creating little gardens on their porch of the village, which is above water. So one of the things that we talked about tonight was the women to take their produce to the markets have to paddle their canoes 3 or 4 hours to get there. So things like a small outboard motorboat is something that we're looking to explore. And they've got these little pearls that are also coming from the sea, and they're now growing them from the shell into water. So we're exploring some social entrepreneur skills with these women. And the other big one is how they get their fish produce down to the markets in Port Moresby, because they don't have electricity, they don't have refrigeration. So we're looking for how technology might be able to help them out from there. But, you know, these women are living very subsistent existences, and they don't have access to technology. And what Kylie-Ann is actually doing is amazing. You know, so just the fact that she was able to join us tonight was incredible, because in the local area, they'd had another earthquake, you know, was 6.2. So it's very fragile. But the fact that, you know, we can be together like this, share these projects, we'll be putting forward a proposal and, yeah, sharing it with everybody as well. So she's going to do a little video, and we'll invite everybody down under to come and have a look at that. So thank you, Ulla, for the opportunity to share.
You're always welcome, dear Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Chris is from my region as well. But Chris, I can give you some basic knowledge on pearl farming, and then we can find someone that might be able to help us when I get home. Thank you. Sandra Kishi.
Thank you very much. I ask for apologies for the Minister Sonia Guajajara absence, as she is in a meeting called by the President of the Republic of Brazil at this moment with all the ministers. But I'd like to please let me leave here the link to our Safe Water tool, a technological solution for social monitoring of water quality, agua.mpf.mp.br. And we also have a video of this Safe Water tool. And now I am coordinating a project, Living Lands, with them in a partnership with Germany, BMZ or GIZ, and the Federal Prosecution Service. And we also work with a technological platform there. And we are at this moment in an integration with this Safe Water tool. By this way, we can keep the indigenous people and the traditional communities quite safe from the damages and the water issues. And I really, really thank you all for this opportunity. And I thank you, Soroptimist International and Women for Water. Thank you very much. And all of you, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Please give Minister Sonia our greetings and thank her for what she has done so far. We did miss her, of course, because we would love to see her and know of the work that she's done, but you have given us some tools and links there, which is very, very good. Thank you. Did you want to make any comment, President Maureen?
No, I just enjoyed listening to all that's going on. I just love to hear about the projects that are being undertaken. And it's great that we have a round the world audience here this afternoon. And thank you very much. And Sandra, I've been listening to what you've said about the minister. And I would like to thank you from Soroptimist International as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now she'll give some closing remarks if there are no other questions or comments. President Maureen reminded us of climate change and the water crisis and how it affects every part of our lives. Marit set the scene and she spoke about women's rights disappearing that the Secretary General mentioned, and he has been repeating that throughout CSW67. and it'll take another 300 years to reach gender equality. I know UN Women have done that research and have the data behind that. So that's quite shocking and disgusting for us to think we have to mobilize and start becoming more advocates to change this. Technical women in the water section, we need more, and how critical women's role is in water. Dr. Grace promoted gender equality for effective water management. Women have to study, they're not studying water science and management, but the solution is obviously to get more women to study. And what can we do differently? That's such a critical question in everything we do. How can we improve and what can we do differently to make it better? Digital literacy is a human right, which is really something we need to press, and we've noticed that how major that is to all of our lives. And without it, women are further excluded from everything. The introduction of gendered statistics, how to use statistics to monitor and evidence the gender gap, true representation, water and sanitation, and digital literacy. Thank you, Dr. Grace. Stacey spoke of the relevance of CSW67 priority theme, which is the innovation and technology. Named a few of our invisible and hidden STEM field predecessors in science, the benefits and critical roles that girls play in science and technologies. And Joanne and Sarada spoke of practical solutions in Sarawak and Borneo, covering water farming, food processing and marketing. Sarada covered the resilience and the work that they're doing to help the local people of resilience in floods, flood risk reduction and mitigation, field trips that they have been on, which are very, very critical to the work that they're doing, workshops, greenhouse being built higher, on higher ground, food and water security, and that impact whole communities. Minister Sonia, we have heard that we have a number of the Safe Water tool and a number of links that Sandra has put in the chat box, and we will get a voiceover presentation that we can add to this presentation on our international website, soroptimistinternational.org. There's a lot of resources there for women and girls and gender equality, because we do concentrate on SDG 4, which is education, and SDG 5, which is gender equality, of which this is such a critical part of. So I wish to thank Marit very much for organising the Minister and Dr. Grace and their teams to come on, President Maureen for organising and structuring us very, very well, and opening remarks. Thank you for all to attend and participate. We thank you for your support. Thank you very, very much to everybody. Have a wonderful day.